I want to tell a story today about starting over. To tell this story, I'll have to jump back to about 8 years ago when I was in college. Entering my senior year of college when a friend invited me to join him on a trip to Japan at the end of the summer. You see, at this point in my life, I had just turned 21 years old, and this would essentially be my first time traveling outside of the United States. So I scrambled up all the money I'd saved. I bought my very first camera, which is right here, and I was determined to vlog the trip. So that's what I did. I went around and I documented a lot of the trip, much to maybe some of my friends' annoyances and disturbances. But I documented all 3 weeks of that trip to Japan. When I got back home, I took this footage to the library, I edited it, and I turned it into 2 YouTube videos. You see, I had plans to make more videos. However, as time passed, life started to get in the way. I started new jobs, moved to a new city, and fought through the ups and downs of life. And the idea of filming and of YouTube, it sort of fell on the back burner. It seemed like a childish dream of mine that I had now grown out of. So fast forward 8 years later to last year. It was not until last year when I got laid off from a tech job that I was working that I found myself a little bit lost and asking myself some questions about what it was I wanted to do with my life and what it was that could bring me fulfillment. I decided that I would use this layoff as an opportunity to take a little bit of a break and to do something that I'd always wanted to do, which was to go on an extended solo trip. So I packed my bags, booked a one-way flight to Southeast Asia, and began documenting my life again. Now, there are many stories from that trip that I can share at another time, but what I wanted to explain was how a lot of this came to a clarity for me when I found myself once again in a very familiar place, which was in Tokyo, Japan, at the very end of my trip. And while I was in my Airbnb, I remember capturing this video of me reflecting upon what it was like to be back in Japan once again after 8 years. In the video, I'm describing the nostalgia that I experienced in that moment, the excitement of a new adventure and of endless possibilities. Yeah, so Tokyo is like my last leg of this 2-month trip I've been on. And when I went on that trip in 2016, that was the first time that I had gone international basically on my own. And it was also like one of the first times I started filming some of my trip and kind of like taking photos of my trip. And I just felt very inspired, I think, a lot of the times during that trip. Anyways, I do just think it's like really fitting to return at the end of this trip to kind of like back to where a lot of these things, for me at least, travel started. It feels like my experience traveling started in Japan. I remember being taken aback about how, despite how much that I thought I had maybe changed and grown up in my life, matured, taken on different responsibilities, etc., how despite all those changes, something about being in the same place and being able to reflect upon the exact moment 8 years earlier really, for me, reinvigorated this inner desire to dust off the camera and 8 years later open my same YouTube channel and get back to posting videos again. If you're still listening, I think the lesson of this story is that in life, as we grow older, the responsibilities of adulthood can very easily overtake us. And it's okay to veer off course or even change course. Whatever thing that you might have in the back of your mind that you've been brushing aside, it's never too late to dust it off and pick it back up again. And so that's what I'm doing. I decided that I want to start listening to that inner voice of mine that dreamed of sharing stories in search of understanding and fulfillment. And even if it's not for anybody else, I'll be proud to know that I've done it for myself. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.